Welcome to Me Time with Mind Escape Vibe, where it is your time to be kind to your mind. My name is Renee, and this episode is Renee's Self Reflections, my lessons learned. I always like to start each podcast when I have a guest on, asking what their mental victory vibe celebration is. And I want to share my mental victory vibe celebration. My mental victory vibe celebration, what I've done to pour into myself and to pour into my own cup and to fill my own cup is my relationships, my family and my friends, my sisters, my children, and my girlfriends. Just having them and being able to reach out to them, having conversations and laughs with them fills my cup. What also fills my cup is encountering great people and having great conversations and learning from others. And I feel that since the last time I've done a self reflections, I've learned a lot and met some great people that have propelled me forward in my thinking, in the way I move and shake, just in the way I see and do things. And I'm grateful for that. My mental victory vibe celebration is just a gift. And I'm so glad that I'm able to meet great people and to share in great experiences. I have to say, my personal empowerment theme song. I always ask about everyone's personal empowerment theme song. I want to share mine. I have two. Lesson on the Line by Coax Marie. I like this song because it helps me to reflect on how far I've become and how I made it through. It really ties into the two affirmations that will be the theme for this podcast today. And I really like her song. It is a song that when I think about it, I smile. When I listen to it, I smile because it helps me to reflect on how far I've come and how I made it through. You should check it out. My next song is by my girl Whitney Houston, and it's One of Those Days. Now, I love this song because Whitney talks about relaxing. She talks about how the day could get a little hectic, but hey, go and take a bath, relax, and do whatever you got to do because it's just one of those days. And I was listening to that song actually this morning, and I thought, yeah, honey, that's right. I think I want to do that. So that's my other personal empowerment theme song. You know, personal empowerment theme songs can change, but really based on the day. But those are my two for now. The theme of this podcast is really centered around two affirmations for my self reflection. And I like to read one of them to use and talk about them, and then I'll get into the other. The first affirmation: I am doing my best. I won't give up. And let's talk about that. Let's talk about that because sometimes the struggle is so hard, you forget that you're doing your best because you're caught in the struggle and you just be like, why me? I've had several of those moments, especially when I'm learning something new. I'm not familiar with something. But I can say that because of the relationships and the folks that I have, the support system that I have, on those days when I really wanted to give up and I wanted to cry, and I did cry, I did, um, they brought me back. They brought me back to keep going. Yeah, it's going to be some hiccups to keep going. And I would recommend that to you as well. There will be hiccups. There will be times where you're like, man, what in the cracker knuckle ham sandwich just is just not working out for me. I'm ready to just throw this rye bread out the door. Well, you might want to think about, what did you learn from it? Yeah, you may have to shift and shake and change some things up. I know I did. I did a lot of shifting and changing this year just to align with the brand and the direction that I wanted to go. But one thing that I can say with the never giving up and the realignment is that it also helped me to see what the things that I also had in place. Sometimes we think that when we realign, we have to start all over. You have to start all over. You can't use what you already have because it's just not right. And that's just not true. Repurpose, recycle, reuse, because lo and behold, think about it. Sometimes all of the things are there, all the steps are there, everything is in place. You just got to put the pieces together, and it's like a aha. You're like, wait a minute, I had this. And all I had to do was put it together. I had a lot of those this year. I had a lot of those this year, especially in moments where I thought, wow, can I really do this? Can I really do this? And I must say, having the podcast really helped because I would feel that way sometimes and do a podcast recording, an interview. And we are having this dialogue and we're having a great conversation and having a great time. And it's an aha moment for me. Oh, wow. And that's okay. And I am glad that in those moments where I really felt like my best wasn't good enough, I didn't give up. And I hope that in your moments when you feel like your best isn't good enough, you just take a step back, take a deep breath, close your eyes, be still for a moment, and remember what you've accomplished thus far. Accomplishments don't have to be huge. Even the smaller accomplishments are great accomplishments because you started. And I remind myself of that every time when I really feel like I want to give up. I started. Take a step back and I breathe and I say, I started. Thank you, God, for letting me start. Thank you, God, for being here with me. And I hope that resonates with you and it can apply in whatever situation you're sitting in right now. Good, bad, ugly, happy, sad, jumping up and down, whatever it is. I hope it works for you. The second affirmation that I'd like to read today is I am accepting redirection as my protection. Okay, so this is a big one. I did a lot of redirectioning. Is that a thing? Let me see. Redirectioning this year. I started with several ideas of what I thought I was going to do, what I wanted to do, and the redirection happened. And it didn't happen in a way that um, I thought it would. So let me tell you a story. It's a podcast. I can tell a story. When I started Mind Escape Vibe, when I started the coaching part of my business, I had this idea of what I thought coaching was, what I thought it should be, and how it should be done. And it was really going out into the community and participating in events that I realized that um, I like to compare it to this Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs movie. You know, when she's standing in the mirror and she says, "Mirror, mirror on the wall," and this mirror talks back, right? Except it's not an evil witch inside, that's controlling the mirror and providing the advice, right? And when I think about my reflection and my mirror, mirror on the wall and what's reflecting back on me, I see growth. I see the beauty of the growth. I see the beauty in me. Whereas there was a time when I looked in the mirror and it was like that the voice in the mirror only saw flaws. Now I see hope. I see hope and a chance and an opportunity to try. Now, some might say, well, trying is just an excuse for saying you're really not going to do it. But for me, trying is an igniter because I am going to move forward and I'm going to write out a plan and I am going to try. And even if it fails, because I have had some fails this year too, I just look at it as a lesson and then I use what works, I repurpose that, and then I try something different for what didn't work. And that for me is the best redirection and protection that I can have, because I truly believe that my faith and my belief in God has helped me to see redirection differently. My faith and my belief in God has helped me to accept redirection as the best blessing that I could ever have. And I am so glad that I can see it that way now. At the time when the redirection was happening, especially mid year, around July, I really had a shift in the direction of where I wanted to go from a career perspective and in my business. And it was hard, y'all. It was so hard. But when I look back on it now, I'm so glad it happened, because I feel like I walked into myself, and that I am moving forward in a path that's meant for me, that's true and authentic. And I can't say that I always had that in my life. I didn't feel like being authentic was the best way. I didn't feel like vulnerability was the best way. And I'm so glad that I can see that with curiosity, and I can embrace it with gratitude. So, redirection is not always easy. It's like hard when it's happening. But coming out on the other side, I can actually see that it was the best redirection that I could have. And I'm glad that I had the protection of God to get to where I needed to be, to sit down and truly reflect on what I really wanted to do. As we move into the latter part of the year, we get really busy. We get busy because it's the holiday season. We move into the Thanksgiving piece where we're just putting together all these great meals. And I just want to put a plug out there for my sister, Goodies by Row. She does some great desserts. You guys go on Facebook, check her out. You will not be disappointed. Let me tell you something, okay? Don't miss out. Okay. So we move into this holiday season, and we're thinking about all of the things that we're going to spread on the table for Thanksgiving. And we're thinking about all the gift giving and the exchange of gifts and giving and purpose we're going to put out into the world. But at the same time, we have wars going on in other countries. We have wars going on here. We have suffering going on here. We had a lot of mass shootings that happened. I am right outside of Tampa, and my child was in Ybor when a mass shooting took place. And I'm grateful to God, and I'm very thankful, because she came home. She came home with no bruises, no scars, no open wounds. But there are parents and family members that can't say the same. And my heart goes out to them, because it shook me to know that, hey, this happened. And you wake up out your sleep, and you just hope that your family comes home, that your child is okay. And it really shook me and put me on edge, because even my middle one went out the next day, and I'm like, please be careful. This whole thing has put me on edge. And I'm grateful to God that God brought my baby home and that she's safe. And for those parents and people that have experienced loss, my heart goes out to you, because we do have misfortunes that are happening in this world today. But I hope that you stay encouraged. I hope that you're encouraged, and that prayer and whatever your faith may be, whatever that is for you, that propels you forward to keep going, because I know it's hard. Loss is hard. Experiencing loss is hard. And we are going into a season where it's really about joy and holiday. Or someone may be experiencing loneliness because they don't have anyone there to with them. But also, I hope the podcast episodes that I bring forth in November and December bring you some degree of joy. I hope the podcast episodes are helpful watching the streams. I'm going to stream them also on YouTube. We have a panel discussion coming up with some great ladies that they're just dynamic, and I feel really blessed to have them in my Rolodex. Do people still say Rolodex? Well, in my contacts as igniters for change and hope and gratitude. And I hope that as we move into all of the things and we are busy trying to nurture and protect and take care of everyone else, that you take time to be kind to your mind, that you take a moment to do something for yourself. It doesn't have to be something for 2 hours. It doesn't have to be something for an hour. It could be 2 minutes. It could be 30 seconds. It could be 5 minutes. Take the time to refresh and rejuvenate and reflect. Reflect for the day, maybe for that morning. What was the biggest accomplishment for that morning? Waking up, making your bed. I know for me, I make my bed every morning. Let me tell you something about that. I used to didn't. I would make my bed when I thought about it. And I have a girlfriend. She was on my podcast and she talked about how every day she makes her bed. And I was like, I'm not quite there. But after that episode, I was intentional about making my bed every day for like a week or two. And now I make my bed every morning. It's a thing. And I feel and even though the day may be chaotic, as I don't know what, the dogs could be running around. Everybody may need something. I may need something. I can't find this. I can't find that. I'm okay because I know I made my bed. So I was grateful for that tip. I was grateful for that tip. But anyway, I digress. But whatever is going on, okay, consider the protection and the redirection. And I hope that the guest for the November podcast and then the December podcast really stimulate thought about redirection, about protection, about not giving up, about doing your best. And that is a gift that keeps on giving. Well, I'd like for you to also think about what you've done to cultivate self-trust in yourself. How have you fed your inner child? How have you fed your inner child? Because a lot of times that's who's driving the ship when we're being petty, when we're going through things, when we're doing things. And my inner child, sometimes, yeah, she's a little petty. Sometimes she's a little petty. I have to say, girl, we're not going to do that. But also think about that. How are you feeding that inside? Take some time to do something for yourself. Even if it's a 30-second dance party, if it's a 30-second, sometimes I talk to myself um, just to ignite something and stimulate something. But I hope that you have that opportunity. The upcoming guest for our November podcast includes Dr. Wendy. I am so excited about that podcast because she is really an igniter for change for women and really propelling them to walk into their own authentic and true. I also have a guest that will talk about Jared, who talks about walking in his own truth and how that came about. And I also have another guest that's talking about coming out on the other side of in a relationship of narcissism. That airs next week, and narcissistic abuse. But I do want you to, I really hope that those episodes, and I don't want to say I want you to, this is hard when you're recording. I'm going to have to think about that from moving forward. But I really hope that the episodes foster thought, ignite change, perseverance, honesty with self and genuineness with self, and healthy boundaries. when needed. Remember, boundaries don't have to be forever, but boundaries are okay to have. Healthy, purposeful boundaries. And I hope that November and December brings you so much joy, many blessings. And thank you for listening to the show. You have a great day now.